The security code still worked. That was my first clue something was wrong. They hadn't changed the locks. I pushed open our front door, rolling my carry on behind me, and stopped dead. The entryway was empty, not just empty, stripped bare. The mahogany console table that had greeted me every day for the past 5 years was gone. My name is Josephine, and I was about to discover just how thoroughly my life could be erased in 3 days. Hello? I called out, my voice echoing in a way it never had before. The house felt hollow, like a shell of itself. Zane? In here, darling. His voice carried from the living room, unusually bright. Welcome home. I walked in and froze. Everything, every single piece of furniture my father had crafted, was gone. In their place stood stark white IKEA pieces arranged with clinical precision. The room looked like it had been torn from a catalog and pasted into my home. Surprise? Victoria, my mother in law, emerged from the kitchen, beaming. What do you think? We've brought you into the 21st century at last. I felt my knees go weak. Where, where is everything? Oh, we cleared out all that heavy old stuff, Zane said, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. You've been holding on to it for so long, honey. It was time to let go. The walnut rocking chair where Dad taught me about grain patterns? Gone. The oak dining table where he'd carved my name underneath on my 16th birthday? Vanished. The cherry wood bookcase that still smelled faintly of his workshop? Erased. This is I swallowed hard, forcing my face into what I hoped was a smile. This is quite a surprise. Isn't it wonderful? Victoria clasped her hands together. So much brighter now. Those dark pieces were dragging the whole house down. Zane and I spent the whole weekend making it perfect for you. The whole weekend? I repeated softly, while I was at my conference. We wanted it to be a complete surprise, Zane said, squeezing my shoulder. You're always saying how you want to move forward, right? I had never said that. Not once. It's beautiful, I lied, my voice steady. You must have worked so hard. We did, Victoria practically glowed. And look at this lovely entertainment center. So modern. Those old pieces were lovely for their time, dear, but really, it's been 5 years since your father passed. It's time to create your own style. My own style, as if my father's masterpieces had been some temporary placeholder. I should unpack, I said, gesturing to my suitcase. Long flight. Of course, darling. Zane kissed my cheek. Rest up. We're having dinner with Mom to celebrate the new look. I nodded, heading upstairs. Our bedroom had been spared, thank God. Probably because Dad hadn't made any of the furniture there. I closed the door, pulled out my laptop, and accessed our home security cloud storage. 3 days of footage, 72 hours of whatever they'd done with my inheritance, my memories, my father's legacy. My hands shook as I typed in the password. The first clip loaded Zane and Victoria Friday morning just after I'd left for the airport. They were standing in the living room, surveying my father's furniture like generals planning an invasion. Are you sure about this? Zane asked. Victoria's laugh was sharp. Of course I'm sure. That girl needs to stop living in a museum. Besides, she ran a finger along the arm of Dad's rocking chair. It's just furniture. Just furniture, if they only knew. I opened another window and typed, Detective Atticus Cox, City Police. I'd met him at a charity function last year. He'd mentioned being in charge of property crimes. My finger hovered over the call button as I watched Victoria and Zane start dragging my father's masterpieces toward the door. Each piece was worth more than their entire renovation budget. Each piece was legally mine, protected by our prenup and my father's estate. Each piece was irreplaceable. I pressed call. Detective Cox? This is Josephine Emerson. I need to report a crime. Watch how the grain flows here, Dad said, guiding my small hands over the walnut surface. Wood tells stories, Jojo. You just have to learn its language. I blinked away the memory, focusing on my laptop screen. The security footage played silently before me. Zane and Victoria dragging piece after piece onto our driveway. My father's legacy, treated like yard sale cast offs. My phone buzzed. Sophia, have you seen it? I answered, keeping my voice low. I'm watching the feed now, she said. Joe, this is this is criminal. You know that, right? Keep watching. The footage showed Victoria directing two men with a truck. Not just any truck, a waste management vehicle. My stomach turned as I recognized the company logo. They're not just getting rid of it, Sophia gasped. They're destroying it. Exactly. I pulled out the folder I'd kept locked in my office safe. Remember when you thought I was paranoid for documenting everything? The appraisals? And the insurance certificates. Dad's work was featured in Architectural Digest 3 times under his pseudonym. The pieces in this house alone are worth. Holy shit, Sophia interrupted. Is that Victoria with a sledgehammer? I switched camera views. There she was, taking savage swings at my father's hand carved hope chest. Each crack of wood felt like a blow to my chest. The best part? I said, my voice eerily calm. Listen to this. I unmuted the footage. She's still acting like Daddy's ghost lives in these chairs. Zane's voice rang clear through the speakers. I'm doing her a favor, liberating her. Victoria's response was equally damning. That woman needs to learn her place in this family. These pieces are a crutch. Once they're gone, she'll have to conform. Got it all? I asked Sophia. Recording everything, she confirmed. But Joe, why aren't you screaming? Breaking things? They destroyed your father's. Because, I cut in, Dad taught me more than just woodworking. He taught me patience. Remember what he used to say about sanding? Go with the grain, not against it, Sophia quoted. Otherwise, otherwise you splinter the wood beyond repair. I opened another file. Photos of each piece, their documentation, their valuations. They think they've stripped me bare, but they forgot to check what was beneath the surface. A knock at my bedroom door made me freeze. Honey? Zane called. Mom's waiting at the restaurant. Just freshening up, I called back, then whispered to Sophia, I need to go play happy wife. Call Detective Cox, tell him everything. What about you? I stood, smoothing my dress. I'm going to have dinner with my husband and mother in law. I'm going to smile and laugh and thank them for their thoughtfulness. And then, and then, and then I'm going to show them exactly what they've destroyed. I grabbed my purse, checking my lipstick in the mirror. Dad always said the strongest joints are the ones you can't see until they're tested. At the restaurant, Victoria ordered expensive wine to celebrate. I watched her swirl her glass, remembering how she'd swung that sledgehammer. A toast, she declared, to new beginnings. To new beginnings, I echoed, raising my glass. My phone buzzed silently in my lap. A text from Detective Cox. Evidence received. Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Don't let them suspect. Josephine, dear. Victoria leaned forward. You're being so quiet. Aren't you excited about your fresh start? I smiled, channeling every ounce of warmth I could fake. Actually, I've been thinking about what you said. About creating my own style. Yes. She practically glowed with satisfaction. I think I'd like to learn woodworking, I said softly, to honor Dad's memory in a new way. Zane's fork clattered against his plate. Honey, that's not what we. What a lovely idea. Victoria cut in smoothly. But perhaps something more suitable? Pottery, perhaps? I took a sip of wine, letting the irony wash over me. They thought they were erasing my father's influence. Instead, they were about to learn his most important lesson. The strongest wood doesn't break under pressure, it waits, and when the time is right, it splits its attackers right down the middle. Detective Cox's office smelled like coffee and old files. He spread the evidence photos across his desk, each one documenting my father's destroyed masterpieces in clinical detail. $700,000, he said, tapping the insurance appraisals. Conservative estimate, and that's just market value, not accounting for artistic significance. My father's work is in museums, I said quietly, under different names, but still. And your husband had no idea? Dad was private about his success. He sold through galleries using pseudonyms, said it kept the work pure. I handed him another folder. These are the ownership documents. Everything was listed as separate property in our prenup. Cox whistled low. They really stepped in it, didn't they? But here's what I don't understand. Why haven't you confronted them? Because they'd destroy the evidence. I pulled up the security footage on my phone. Listen. Victoria's voice crackled through the speaker. If she makes a fuss, we'll say it was all damaged anyway. Water stains, wood rot. She's too sentimental to have noticed. Cox's eyebrows shot up. Premeditated destruction and conspiracy to cover it up. Mrs. Emerson, you've got them dead to rights. How long? Give us 2 weeks to build the case. Keep playing nice. Can you do that? I thought of this morning, how I'd kissed Zane goodbye, how I'd let him pull me close last night, believing he'd done me a favor. I can do that. Later, at lunch with Sophia, I picked at my salad while she reviewed the morning's developments. The insurance company's salivating, she said. Freddie Anderson, you remember him? The appraiser who loved your dad's work? He's handling the claim personally. Good, he'll understand the true value. Joe? Sophia leaned forward. Are you sure you want to go through with this? It'll destroy your marriage. They destroyed my marriage the moment they took sledgehammers to my father's work. My phone buzzed, a text from Zane. Dinner tonight? Just us. Miss you. I showed Sophia the message. See? He thinks everything's fine, that I'm just his docile, agreeable wife who needed to be liberated from her grief. What are you going to do? I'm going to have dinner with my husband. I'm going to laugh at his jokes, and I'm going to wait. That evening, Zane took me to our favorite Italian restaurant. He ordered wine, held my hand across the table, played the perfect husband. You seem different lately, he said, stroking my palm. Lighter, happier. Do I? Yes. Ever since we cleared out all that old furniture, I knew it was weighing you down. He squeezed my hand. Sometimes we need someone else to make the hard choices for us. I thought of the security footage of him laughing as he destroyed my inheritance. You're right, I said softly. Sometimes we do. I was thinking, he continued, maybe we could redo the bedroom next. Start fresh everywhere. My phone buzzed again. Detective Cox. Audio analysis complete. Footage confirms premeditated intent. Moving forward with charges. Actually, I smiled at Zane, I'd like to keep the bedroom as is. Some things are worth preserving, don't you think? He laughed, relief evident in his eyes. Of course, honey. Whatever makes you happy. My phone lit up again. This time it was Sophia. Freddie found something. Call ASAP. Excuse me, I said, standing. Ladies' room. In the relative privacy of the hallway, I called Sophia. Joe, she whispered. Freddie recognized one of the pieces from the footage, the maple writing desk. It was scheduled to be featured in next month's Architectural Quarterly. They had already photographed it. I closed my eyes, remembering the desk. Dad had spent months on it, teaching me about dovetail joints and hidden compartments. What does that mean? It means we have proof of its condition right before destruction. They can't claim it was damaged. And Joe? The magazine wants to run the story. Your father's real identity, the destruction, everything. I watched Zane through the restaurant's ambient lighting, smiling at his phone, probably texting Victoria about their success in fixing me. Tell Freddie to hold the story, I said. The legal charges should hit first. Then we'll let the art world know exactly what they destroyed. I returned to the table where Zane had ordered dessert, tiramisu, to share. Everything okay? He asked. I picked up my fork, smiling. Everything's perfect. Detective Cox's encrypted file arrived at 3 a.m. Audio enhancement complete, his message read. You need to hear this. I plugged in my headphones, hands shaking slightly as I clicked play. The footage showed Zane and Victoria in our living room, the destruction already underway. Look at this. Zane's voice came through crystal clear, holding up a small wooden box I'd kept my childhood treasures in. She actually wrote dates on these things. First woodworking lesson with Dad, age 7. Victoria's laugh cut like glass. Pathetic, a grown woman clinging to Daddy's sawdust. Remember when she cried about the wall mural? Zane's voice dripped with mockery. The one I painted over last year? You did her a favor. That woman doesn't need sentiment. She needs taste. Victoria's voice hardened. I didn't raise you to marry someone so common? She's good for appearances, Zane replied. Quiet, agreeable, usually. I paused the playback, stomach churning. A new message from Cox popped up. Keep listening. It gets worse. The next clip showed them in the driveway, directing the waste management truck. Take it behind the old mill, Victoria instructed, the abandoned one off Route 7, and make sure you burn it all. Isn't that a bit extreme? Zane asked. Don't go soft now. That furniture is her anchor to the past. As long as it exists, she'll never truly be yours. Victoria's voice dropped lower. Besides, what's she going to do? Cry to her dead daddy about it? I ripped the headphones out, bile rising in my throat. A text from Sophia lit up my phone. Can't sleep. You okay? I called her instead of replying. They burned it, I whispered when she answered. They didn't just destroy it, they burned it. The mill off Route 7? Sophia asked. I know it. We can check. No, I cut her off. Let the police handle it. Cox needs evidence of deliberate disposal. Joe. Sophia hesitated. There's something else. I found an old article about your dad. Remember that trust he set up? Vaguely. I never paid much attention to the legal stuff. Well, you should. There's a clause. If any of his works are intentionally destroyed by family members, the entire estate becomes immediately enforceable. I sat up straighter. What does that mean? It means your father knew something like this might happen. The trust contains not just his artwork, but patents, designs, and private commissions. All of it would come under your control. A knock at my bedroom door made me jump. Honey? Zane called out. Why are you still up? Work email, I called back. Go back to sleep. Come to bed, he pleaded. It's late. I whispered quickly to Sophia. Call me tomorrow. Then ended the call. Zane was standing in the doorway, hair mussed from the sleep. Looking at him now, knowing what I knew, made my skin crawl. Everything okay? He asked, reaching for me. I let him pull me close, remembering his words. Quiet, agreeable. Just stressed about a project, I lied. You work too hard. He kissed my neck. Come to bed. Let me help you relax. I thought of the security footage, of him laughing while destroying my memories, of Victoria's sharp commands and his eager compliance, of flames consuming my father's legacy behind an abandoned mill. But I smiled, playing my part. Okay. Later, after Zane was asleep, I slipped out of bed and went downstairs. The modern furniture gleamed in the moonlight, sterile and soulless. I ran my hand along a white laminate surface, remembering how Dad taught me to feel for the soul in wood grain. My phone buzzed softly. Detective Cox again. Mill site investigated. Found burn evidence. Sending forensics team tomorrow. Also, your brother Kyle called the station. Says he has information about the trust. Kyle, my estranged brother who'd walked away from Dad's business years ago. What did he know? I typed back, set up a meeting. The response came quickly. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. Bring the trust documents. I looked around the hollow room one last time. Soon, very soon, they would learn that some things can't be erased with fire. Some things burn back. Sleep well, I whispered to Zane's unconscious form as I passed our bedroom. While you still can. The abandoned mill loomed before me, its broken windows staring like empty eyes. Detective Cox stood beside me, both of us watching the forensics team sift through the ashes. They were thorough, he said, pointing to the blackened ground. Accelerant, professional grade. They hired people to do this? Waste management company. We're questioning them now. He handed me a evidence bag containing a charred piece of wood. Recognize this? My throat tightened. The maple grain was still visible beneath the soot, a distinctive pattern I'd traced countless times as a child. It's from Dad's writing desk, the one that was supposed to be an architectural quarterly next month. Perfect timing, a familiar voice called out. I turned to see Kyle walking toward us, looking exactly as he had 5 years ago at Dad's funeral. What are you doing here? I asked. Helping my sister. He nodded to Cox. Mind giving us a minute? Once we were alone, Kyle pulled out a thick envelope. I should have given you these years ago, Dad's legal documents about the trust. Sophia mentioned something about a destruction clause. More than that. He opened the envelope, spreading papers on the hood of my car. Dad knew Victoria hated his work, knew she'd try something eventually, so he put in safeguards. I scanned the documents, my eyes widening. The trust doesn't just cover his finished pieces. It covers everything, Kyle confirmed. His techniques, his tools, his client list, even the rights to his pseudonyms. All of it becomes yours if any family member deliberately destroys his work. And Zane counts as family. By marriage, yes. Kyle pointed to a specific paragraph. The moment they burned these pieces, they triggered a clause that makes you sole executor. You control everything now. A forensics officer called out, waving us over. She held up a partially burned ledger, Dad's project journal. They didn't even look through what they were burning. I said softly, their mistake. Kyle squeezed my shoulder. Joe, I'm sorry I walked away from all this. I thought I wanted something different, but watching them destroy Dad's legacy. Help me now, I said. That's what matters. My phone buzzed. Freddie Anderson, the insurance appraiser. You need to see this, his message read, followed by a photo of a magazine layout. There was Dad's maple desk, photographed in perfect condition just weeks ago, its estimated value listed at $125,000. Send everything to Cox, I texted back. Kyle looked over my shoulder at the photo. They really had no idea what they were destroying, did they? No, I smiled grimly. But they're about to find out. Back at the police station, Cox laid out the case files. Grand larceny, criminal destruction of property, insurance fraud. The DA's ready to move forward. What about Victoria's involvement? Conspiracy charges. The waste management company rolled on her, provided copies of her payment and specific instructions. He slid a document across the desk. We're ready when you are. I signed the complaint, then checked my phone. Three missed calls from Zane, two from Victoria, a text from Sophia. They're looking for insurance paperwork. They're starting to worry. How long until they're served? I asked Cox. Tomorrow morning, first thing. I drove home slowly, rehearsing my role one last time. Zane was waiting in the kitchen, trying to look casual as he rifled through our filing cabinet. Looking for something? I asked. He jumped slightly. Oh, just some old papers. Hey, quick question. Did your dad ever have his furniture appraised? I'm not sure. I lied. Why? No reason. Just curious about its value. For insurance purposes. I watched him squirm, remembering his laughter as they destroyed it all. I think those papers burned up with everything else, I said sweetly, behind the old mill. The color drained from his face. What did you say? Nothing, honey. I kissed his cheek, feeling him freeze. I'm going to bed early. Big day tomorrow. Tomorrow? Mm-hmm. I headed upstairs, pausing at the landing. Oh, and Zane? You might want to call your lawyer. Just for insurance purposes. His sharp intake of breath was the sweetest sound I'd heard all day. Tomorrow would be even better. The doorbell rang at exactly 8 a.m. I was already dressed, sipping coffee in the kitchen, when two officers arrived with the court summons. Mr. Stewart? The first officer asked when Zane opened the door. And is Mrs. Stewart here as well? My mother? Zane's voice cracked. She's not. She's on her way, I called out, walking to the door. I called her, thought she should be here for this. Zane spun to face me. You what? Victoria's BMW pulled into the driveway just then, her heels clicking rapidly on the pavement as she hurried toward us. What's going on? She demanded. Zane, why are the police? Victoria Stewart? The second officer held out another envelope. You're both being served with criminal charges and a civil lawsuit. I watched their faces as they read the documents. Watched the blood drain from Victoria's cheeks as she saw the dollar amounts. Watched Zane's hands shake as he reached the word felony. This is ridiculous, Victoria sputtered. It was just furniture? $700,000 worth of furniture, I said quietly, created by Marcus Rivers. Zane's head snapped up. Who? My father's professional name, the one he used when selling to galleries and museums. I pulled out my phone, showing them the architectural quarterly layout. This desk, the one you burned? It was worth more than your car, Victoria. You're lying, she whispered. The police found Dad's project journal in the ashes, along with proof you paid to have everything burned. I turned to the officers. Would you like to explain the charges? The first officer stepped forward. Grand larceny, criminal destruction of property, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. Mr. Stewart, Mrs. Stewart, will need you to come with us. This is your fault, Victoria hissed at me. You set us up. No, I replied calmly. I just installed security cameras. You did the rest. Honey, Zane reached for me, his charm kicking in. We can talk about this. We're family. I stepped back. Family doesn't destroy family. Ma'am, the second officer interrupted. Will you be pressing the additional charges we discussed? Victoria's eyes narrowed. Additional charges? The trust violation, I explained. Dad had a special clause. When you destroyed his work, you triggered it. Everything he created, his techniques, his client list, his professional names, it all becomes mine, including the commissions you tried to steal last year, Victoria. She went pale. How did you? The journal survived the fire. The pages about you trying to contact his clients, offering knockoff pieces? Very detailed. Zane grabbed Victoria's arm. Mom, What is she talking about? She's lying, Victoria snapped. Zane, don't listen to her. I was trying to help her move on. By burning evidence of fraud? I asked sweetly. The officers stepped forward. We need to go. Your lawyers can meet you at the station. I'll destroy you, Victoria spat as they led her to the police car. You think you're so clever. Save it for court, I cut her off. I have the security footage of that threat, too. Zane stood frozen in the doorway, watching his mother being placed in the police car. Joe, please, he whispered. I didn't know about Mom's fraud. She made me help with the furniture. You have to believe me. I played the security audio from my phone. She's still acting like Daddy's ghost lives in these chairs. I'm liberating her. His own voice, his own words. Goodbye, Zane, I said softly. The divorce papers are on the kitchen table. Your mother's going to need that retainer money for her criminal defense instead. As the second police car drove away with my husband, Sophia pulled into the driveway. She got out and stood beside me, watching the vehicles disappear around the corner. You okay? She asked. I took a deep breath, smelling sawdust from the workshop where I'd been secretly practicing Dad's techniques. I will be. What now? I pulled out my keys, removing the house key from the ring. Now, I'm going to build something new. Behind us, the empty house stood silent, waiting to be filled again, this time with pieces of my own creation. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Victoria took the stand. She dressed carefully in muted colors, playing the concerned mother in law, but her eyes were sharp as razors. I only wanted to help, she testified, dabbing at fake tears. Josephine was stuck in the past, living in a shrine to her father. My lawyer, Rachel, stood. Mrs. Stewart, are you familiar with the artist Marcus Rivers? Victoria blinked. I may have heard the name. Really? Rachel held up a magazine. Because we have evidence that you contacted his clients last year, offering to sell them pieces in his style, at a fraction of the price. The courtroom stirred. Victoria's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. That's not, Victoria started. We also have your emails to these clients, claiming you had access to his original designs. Rachel approached the bench with a stack of papers. Emails sent before you destroyed the evidence of your fraud. Objection! Victoria's lawyer stood. Overruled, the judge said. Continue. Mrs. Stewart, Rachel pressed, did you know that Marcus Rivers was James Emerson's professional name when you burned his work? Victoria's mask cracked. That girl was poisoning my son with her obsession. Those pieces had to go. Those pieces were worth over $700,000, Rachel stated calmly, and you knew exactly what you were destroying. She has no proof. Rachel played the security audio. Victoria's voice filled the courtroom. Once we burn it all, she'll have nothing to prove her claims about the furniture's value. The jury stirred. Victoria's face contorted. This is all her fault. She pointed at me. She set us up. Zane, tell them. But Zane, sitting with his own lawyer, wouldn't meet her eyes. He'd already accepted a plea deal, turning on his mother to save himself from the worst charges. Mrs. Stewart, Rachel continued, please explain why you hired a waste management company to burn the furniture specifically behind an abandoned mill. I, I, and why you paid them in cash. Victoria's composure shattered. Because she didn't deserve it. That pretentious little nobody walking around like artistic royalty when all she had was Daddy's old furniture. That old furniture was scheduled to be featured in multiple prestigious publications, Rachel said, producing more exhibits. These photos were taken just weeks before the destruction. They clearly show the piece's condition and value. She trapped us, Victoria shrieked. Zane, tell them how she manipulated you. Zane finally looked up, his face hollow. No, Mom. You did this. You made me help you destroy my wife's inheritance, and now. He shook his head. Now we're both paying for it. I stood up quietly and walked out, letting the door close on Victoria's continued protests. In the hallway, Kyle was waiting. You didn't stay for the verdict? He asked. Don't need to, I replied. The evidence speaks for itself. My phone buzzed. A message from Freddie Anderson. Architectural Quarterly wants to run the story. Full spread. Your father's real identity. Your new workshop. Everything. Kyle read over my shoulder. Are you ready for that? To take over Dad's legacy? Not take over, I corrected. Continue, in my own way. The courtroom door opened. Rachel emerged, smiling. Guilty on all counts. The civil judgment is for full replacement value plus punitive damages. And the trust clause stands. You have complete control of your father's professional portfolio. And Victoria? The fraud charges stuck. She's facing serious time. Rachel squeezed my arm. It's over. But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras and microphones. Miss Emerson, is it true you're opening your own workshop? Will you continue Marcus Rivers' work? I thought of the half finished pieces in my new studio, of the techniques Dad taught me, of the legacy that couldn't be burned away. Marcus Rivers was my father's name, I said clearly into the microphones, but I'll be creating under my own. The pieces I lost can't be replaced, but they taught me something important. True craftsmanship can't be destroyed, it just takes new forms. As the cameras flashed, I felt Dad's presence beside me, strong as oak, steady as maple. Victoria and Zane had tried to erase him, but they'd only succeeded in revealing his true legacy. Not in the furniture they burned, but in the daughter they underestimated. I smiled at the cameras, ready to build something new from the ashes they'd left behind. The key felt heavy in my hand as I unlocked the doors to Legacy and Grain for the first time. Sawdust motes danced in the morning light streaming through the windows, and the smell of fresh wood filled the air. This is really happening, Kyle said behind me, carrying a box of Dad's old tools we'd recovered from storage. Ready for your first lesson? I asked, turning to face my brother. He set the box down carefully. You sure you want me as an apprentice after I walked away before? Dad always said the strongest joints are the ones that have been broken and rebuilt. I pulled out our father's favorite chisel, its handle worn smooth from years of use. Besides, I could use the help. The bell above the door chimed. Sophia walked in, followed by Freddie Anderson, clutching the latest issue of Architectural Quarterly. It's beautiful, Sophia breathed, looking around the workshop. Wait till you see this, Freddie said, opening the magazine. The story's already generating buzz. 3 commission requests this morning alone. I took the magazine, running my fingers over the glossy pages. There was Dad's destroyed desk, photographed in its prime, alongside pictures of the burned remains. Next to them, a photo of my first major piece, a writing desk that echoed Dad's style while speaking in my own voice. Have you seen today's paper? Sophia asked, pulling out her phone. Victoria's sentencing made the front page? I shook my head. Don't need to see it. How long did she get? 5 years plus restitution. Zane got probation and community service. Sophia paused. He's been trying to reach you. Nothing left to say. I walked to the back of the workshop, where a small prayer bench sat in a patch of sunlight, the only piece of Dad's I'd managed to save, hidden in the attic before leaving for that fateful business trip. The bell chimed again. Detective Cox stepped in, holding a cardboard box. Found these in evidence lockup, he said, setting it down. Thought you might want them. Inside were Dad's project journals, scorched but largely intact. On top lay a photo I'd thought lost forever, Dad teaching me to sand my first piece, both of us covered in sawdust and grinning. Thank you, I whispered. One more thing, Cox added. Victoria's appeals were denied. It's really over. Kyle picked up a piece of cherry wood, testing its weight. So what are we building first? I smiled, pulling out Dad's old drafting table. Something new, something ours. The workshop filled with morning light as I spread out fresh paper, uncapped my pencil, and began to draw. Not a replacement for what was lost, but a beginning. Around me, the tools waited, the wood waited, the legacy waited, not in the ashes of what was destroyed, but in the possibility of what would be created. Dad used to say, revenge is like working against the grain. I told Kyle as he studied my sketch. It splinters everything it touches. But this isn't revenge anymore, is it? He asked. No. I picked up Dad's chisel, feeling its familiar weight. This is resurrection. Sophia opened the workshop windows, letting in fresh air and the sounds of the city. Freddie arranged his camera to document the first piece created in Legacy and Grain. Detective Cox flipped through the saved journals, discovering the brilliance Victoria had tried to burn away. And I began to work, showing Kyle how to read the wood's story in its grain, how to let it speak through our hands. Not to replace what was lost, but to build something stronger from its lessons. The first cut into fresh wood filled the air with the scent of possibility. They had tried to erase my father's legacy, but instead they had freed it to grow into something new, something that couldn't be burned away or broken down, something built not from revenge, but from resurrection. something that was finally truly mine. Ready? I asked Kyle, handing him Dad's spare chisel. He nodded, and together we began to build.